Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Naresh Mago and with me is Manoj Singh Rana with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Ahmedabad, Pune and Hyderabad tomorrow to review COVID-19 vaccine development and manufacturing process. COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 93.65%. Chief Economic Advisor says gross domestic product estimates more encouraging than anticipated in Q2. Agriculture sector registers 3.4% growth. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar launches India Climate Change Knowledge Portal. All arrangements in place for first phase of District Development Council elections in Jammu and Kashmir tomorrow. And in cricket, Australia beat India by 66 runs in opening ODI of 3-match series at Sydney. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. Now the news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will embark on a 3-city visit tomorrow to personally review the COVID-19 vaccine development and manufacturing process. The Prime Minister's office, in a tweet, said that Mr. Modi will visit Zydus Biotech Park in Ahmedabad, Bharat Biotech in Hyderabad, and Serum Institute of India in Pune. He said as India enters a decisive phase of the fight against COVID-19, the Prime Minister's visit to these facilities and discussions with the scientists will help him get a first-hand perspective of the preparations, challenges, and the roadmap in India's endeavor to vaccinate its citizens. Mr. Modi will first visit Zydus Cadila Pharmaceuticals Vaccine Development Facility at Zydus Biotech Park near Ahmedabad tomorrow morning to personally review the COVID vaccine development process. AIR Ahmedabad correspondent reports that the Zydus plant, which is working on Zycov-D, a COVID-19 vaccine candidate, is located in Changodar area of Ahmedabad, Gujarat. A helipad facility has been set up close to the plant for the Prime Minister's visit. After his visit to Ahmedabad, the Prime Minister is expected to fly to Pune to visit the Serum Institute to review the production of corona vaccine Covishield. Our Pune correspondent reports that Mr. Modi will discuss with the concerned officials the overall supply and distribution system after the successful testing of this vaccine. According to the schedule, after arrival at Lohegaon Airport, the Prime Minister will be flown directly to Serum Institute by a special helicopter and will be at the Institute for about an hour. After the visit to the Institute, the Prime Minister will leave for Hyderabad from Lohegaon Airport. Our correspondent says the Prime Minister is scheduled to arrive at Hakimapet Air Force Station in Hyderabad tomorrow afternoon. Mr. Modi is expected to reach the vaccine manufacturing facility of Bharat Biotech International Limited, BBIL, and review the COVID-19 vaccine manufacturing process. The BBIL is engaged in the manufacturing of COVID-19 vaccine called Covaxin in collaboration with Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR. More from our correspondent.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is likely to interact with the scientists and others concerned at the BBIL facility during his brief visit to Hyderabad tomorrow. Currently, the Phase 3 clinical trials of the vaccine candidate are underway by involving over 25,000 volunteers in 22 states across the country. The vaccine has been already tested on around 1,000 volunteers during first and second phases of the trials. The Prime Minister's visit highlights the importance that the government is attaching for fast production of vaccine for COVID-19. Lakshmi, AIR News, Hyderabad.
In Madhya Pradesh, the clinical trial of the 3rd phase of Corona's Covaxin started today. The clinical trial of Phase 3 of the Indian Council of Medical Research and Bharat Biotech International's Corona vaccine will be conducted in various hospitals in Bhopal. With 43,082 new COVID-19 infections, the country's total cases went up to 93,09,788. The Health Ministry said with 492 new deaths, the death toll has gone up to 1,35,715. The total active cases now stand at 4,55,555. Total discharged cases reached 87,18,517, with 39,379 new discharges in the last 24 hours. The recovery rate has reached 93.65%. Over 11,31,000 COVID samples were tested in the country in the last 24 hours. With this, the cumulative testing figure has reached 13 crore 70 lakh. The central government and the ICMR have scaled up the testing infrastructure in a calibrated manner. The Health Ministry has said that the very high levels of testing lead to early identification, prompt isolation and effective treatment of COVID-19 cases. It said this also leads to a low fatality rate. Higher volumes of testing have also ensured a lower daily positivity rate, which continues to remain below 4%. The country is undertaking almost 5 times the number of daily tests per million of the population as per the standards prescribed by the WHO. In Nagaland, total cases of COVID-19 affected people have reached 11,091, with 31 new cases reported today. In a tweet, Health and Family Welfare Minister S. Pangyuphom said 211 patients recovered today, taking the total number of recoveries to 9,699 in the state. The recovery rate has improved to 87.45% in Nagaland. One COVID death was also reported from Kohima today, adding the total COVID deaths in the state to 57. Presently, there are 1,219 active corona cases in the state. Kerala reported more COVID recoveries than positive cases today, as 3,966 new cases were confirmed, while 4,544 people recovered from the infection in the state. The total number of active cases in Kerala has reduced to 63,885. Meanwhile, 23 deaths were reported today, taking the COVID death toll in the state to 2,171. In Maharashtra, as intense screening is on for passengers arriving from Delhi, Rajasthan, Gujarat and Goa by road and trains, the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International Airport, CSMIA, in Mumbai has created a dedicated zone for domestic passengers arriving from these 4 states. The passengers are required to undergo the RT-PCR tests upon their arrival at the airport. They are directed to the test zone located near the baggage carousel to undertake the test before exiting the airport. More from our correspondent.
Passengers arriving at Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International Airport from Delhi, Goa, Gujarat and Rajasthan are required to provide proof of a negative RT-PCR test prior to boarding their flight or undertake the test upon arrival at Mumbai. Since the implementation of the new directive on 25th November 2020, CSMIA has tested over 200 passengers who have arrived from these earmarked regions, of which none have tested positive for COVID-19 so far. On the other hand, 3 passengers arrived in Mumbai by railway were found positive in the screenings of almost 13,253 passengers at various railway stations. Similar screenings are being done at various checkposts on the border connecting Gujarat and Goa by road. With Kunal Shinde, Shailesh Patil, AIR News, Mumbai.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir Police JKP has been relentlessly reaching out to the poor and the needy people in the wake of the prevailing coronavirus pandemic. In Avantipora, Pulwama, police distributed COVID-19 safety kits among the needy people and the destitute under the Civic Action Program. The distribution function was organized at Police Station Avantipora in the presence of SSP Avantipora Tahir Salim, in which essential items, COVID-19 safety kits, which includes steam vaporizer, face shield, surgical masks, oximeter, digital thermometer, hand sanitizer, hand gloves, hand wash, and other related items were distributed among the poor and the needy people of the area. Ladakh would be getting 4 RT-PCR machines and 2 biosafety cabinets to augment the COVID testing in the Union Territory. Council of Scientific and Industrial Researchers, CSIR's Jammu-based Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine Director Dr. D. Srinivasa Reddy said that their institute has hired and trained manpower to work in the COVID testing facilities at Leh and Kargil. A team of scientists headed by Dr. Srinivasa Reddy held a meeting with UT Ladakh Health Commissioner Secretary Rigzin Samphel today discussed various COVID management initiatives by CSIR-IIIM. Dr. Namrata Sharma, professor at the Eye Center at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, says touching eyes and face unnecessarily is dangerous in the times of COVID-19. Dr. Sharma told AIR News that wearing a mask, washing or sanitizing hands, and maintaining 2 gaz ki duri is the only way to fight the coronavirus.
It is very important that you do frequent sanitization, especially of the hands. Remain masked at most of the time, especially when you are interacting, and maintain social distancing. And it is also very important that you avoid touching your mask as well as your face with your hands. And if you all have to do it, then your hands should be washed.
India and the United Kingdom today reiterated their shared desire to impart a quantum jump to the partnership in the post-COVID, post-Brexit era. During Prime Minister Narendra Modi's telephonic talk with Prime Minister of the United Kingdom Boris Johnson, the two leaders exchanged thoughts about the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Both the leaders reviewed the promising cooperation between India and the UK in the area of vaccine development and manufacturing. The leaders agreed that there was tremendous potential for enhancing collaboration in trade and investment, scientific research, mobility of professionals and students, and defence and security. They laid particular emphasis on India and the UK joining hands in the fight against climate change and appreciated their collaboration under platforms like the International Solar Alliance and the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. The leaders also agreed that officials from both sides would continue their work to quickly finalize an ambitious long-term roadmap for the India-UK partnership. The News Services Division of All India Radio, in its bilingual live phone-in program tonight, will bring you a special discussion program on COVID-19. This can be heard on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards. Listeners can ask questions to the experts on toll-free telephone number 1800-115761. You can also ask questions on telephone number 011-2331-4444 and post queries on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts using the hashtag AskAIR. This program will also be available on our website newsonair.com and on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You can also follow us on the News on AIR app for updates. Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank virtually released a compilation of initiatives taken by School Education Department during COVID-19 pandemic in New Delhi today. Releasing the compilation, Mr. Pokhriyal highlighted the Department of School Education and Literacy has taken several initiatives, including PM E-Vidya Pragyata Guidelines, Manodarpan for psychosocial support, alternative academic calendar to ensure that the school-going students do not lag behind in their studies during COVID-19 pandemic. He expressed happiness that these initiatives have contributed a lot in mitigating the impact of the pandemic. He said the ministry has come out with several measures to remodel and reimagine the way teaching and learning have happened so far. Mr. Pokhriyal lauded the efforts of the officials of the ministry to introduce many new suitable methods of delivering quality education through a healthy mix of schooling at home and schooling at school. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu today called for a mass movement to promote digital literacy in the country. Virtually launching Adi Shankar Digital Academy at Kaladi in Kerala, the birthplace of Adi Shankaracharya, Mr. Naidu said that information is the main commodity in the present-day knowledge society and whoever has quick access to information has the advantage. He called digitalization as the medium of access to such information, drawing attention towards the unprecedented disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. He said that it has forced millions of students out of classrooms due to closure of schools, and the world community is trying to address this challenge by adopting online education. You're listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Ahmedabad, Pune and Hyderabad tomorrow to review COVID-19 vaccine development and manufacturing process. COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 93.65%. Chief Economic Advisor says gross domestic product estimates more encouraging than anticipated in Q2. Agriculture sector registers 3.4% growth. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar launches India Climate Change Knowledge Portal. All arrangements in place for the first phase of District Development Council elections in Jammu and Kashmir tomorrow. And in cricket, Australia beat India by 66 runs in opening ODI of 3-match series at Sydney. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
To get accurate, reliable and wide coverage of news, tune into AIR News 24/7 and FM Gold and listen to the major bulletins at 8:30 a.m., 2 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. in English and 8 a.m., 2:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. in Hindi of half an hour each.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Chief Economic Advisor K.V. Subramanian has said that India's gross domestic product GDP of the second quarter of 2020-21 is quite encouraging in comparison to the first quarter. Talking to media persons in New Delhi today, he said manufacturing has recorded a positive growth of 0.6% and utility has grown by 4.4% and agriculture grew by 3.4% in the second quarter. Mr. Subramanian said that the broad recovery is underway.
If you look at the PMI index for manufacturing, it is the highest in a decade, and it has certainly gone up after the unlock phase has begun and is at the highest in the decade. Services as well is now in an expansionary phase. This is despite travel and tourism continue to be affected because of the social distancing. The PMI index in fact is at similar levels to what it was in the month of February before the pandemic hit. From the perspective of looking into the future, these two indices do suggest that we are in an expansionary phase across both manufacturing and services.
India's GDP contracted by 7.5% in the second quarter from July to September of 2020-21. According to the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, gross value added GVA came in at -7%. Some sectors have bounced back with resumption of economic activities. The electricity, gas, water supply and other utility services have shown a growth of 4.4%. It said agriculture, forestry and fishing sectors grew at 3.4% and the manufacturing sector showed a marginal growth of 0.6%. Agriculture appeared to be one of the few bright spots for the second straight quarter amid a grim GDP performance, clocking a growth of 3.4% at constant prices in the July to September quarter as per the data released by National Statistical Office NSO today. In the April to June quarter of 2020-21, the agriculture sector had surpassed the overall GDP growth by clocking a 3.4% growth. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman today held a video conference with the secretaries of the Ministries of Power, Mines and Department of Atomic Energy and the CMDs of 10 Central Public Sector Enterprises CPSEs of these ministries to review the capital expenditure CAPEX in this financial year. This was the fifth in the ongoing series of meetings that the Finance Minister has held with various stakeholders to accelerate the economic growth in the background of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Ministry of Finance in a statement said that the overall achievement as on the 23rd of this month is 24,227 crore rupees against the CAPEX target of 61,483 crore rupees for 2020-21. While reviewing the performance of CPSEs, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that CAPEX by CPSEs is a critical driver of economic growth and needs to be scaled up for the fiscal year 2020-21 and 2021-22. She appreciated the efforts of the ministries and CPSEs for making visible efforts to meet out the CAPEX targets.
Secretary General of Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO Vladimir Norov has praised self-reliant India initiative by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, saying that it deserves high attention. Ahead of 19th Council of Heads of Government of the SCO on November the 30th, 2020, hosted by India in a video conference format, he spoke to Prasar Bharati special correspondent in Beijing, Anshuman Mishra, in an exclusive interview. He said that self-reliant India aims to strengthen industry, medium and small enterprises, which are livelihood of millions of people in India.
The Self-Reliant India initiative, voiced by Mr. Modi, deserves high attention. It aims to strengthen industry, medium and small enterprises, which are the livelihood of millions of people in India. I am confident that the initiative will have a multiplier effect on the world economy, as well as will contribute to the early recovery of the economies of the SCO member states in the post-pandemic period, and to intensification of multifaceted trade and economic cooperation within the organization.
Mr. Noorab said with India's accession to the SCO, new opportunities for further development and deepening of full-scale cooperation have opened up. He noted that India continues to expand its trade and economic relations with the SCO countries. Since joining the SCO, bilateral trade of India with other SCO member states has increased by 27% between 2017 and 2018 compared to the previous period. He said at a time when the world is suffering from coronavirus pandemic, India plans to seize opportunities presented by the crisis, which will also benefit people and countries of the SCO region. Key domestic indices today fell marginally even as global stocks were up. The rupee also weakened 26 paise against the US currency. A report from the Business World.
Sensex declined 110 points or 0.25% to settle at 44,150. The NSE Nifty 50 index also fell 18 points or 0.14% to settle at 12,969. The broader market at the BSE outperformed the Sensex as the BSE Mid-Cap Index surged 1.91%, while the BSE Small Cap Index zoomed 2.4%. In the foreign exchange market, the rupee depreciated 16 paise and settled at 74 rupees and 5 paise against the US dollar. At the multi-commodity exchange, gold prices today rose marginally by 54 rupees to 48,571 rupees per 10 grams. Divergently, silver fell 90 rupees to 59,783 rupees per kilogram. And in intraday trade, Brent crude prices were trading around $48.10 per barrel, while WTI crude prices were around $45.30 per barrel. Arjun Chaudhary for AIR News.
Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change Prakash Javadekar today launched the India Climate Change Knowledge Portal. Speaking on the occasion, Mr. Javadekar said the portal will have all the major steps the government is taking at both the national and international levels to address the climate change issues.
ये एक नया पोर्टल शुरू किया जा रहा है, क्लाइमेट नॉलेज पोर्टल, जिसमें जितने भी भारत के क्लाइमेट एक्शंस है वो दिखेंगे. यानी क्लाइमेट प्रोफाइल क्या है भारत की, कितनी भूमि है, कैसी हवा है, कैसी परिस्थिति है, कैसी हमारी पॉलिसी है, एडेप्टेशन और मिटिगेशन, मात देने के लिए हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हमने जो पेरिस में लक्ष्य रखे हैं वो क्या है, जब आगे आगे बढ़ता जाएगा तो वो भी उसमें होगा. द्विपक्षीय और बहुपक्षीय ऐसे जो समझौते होते हैं, सहयोग होता है, उसकी जानकारी होती जाएगी, सब इसमें दिखेगा.
The portal will be a single point information resource that provides information on the different climate initiatives taken by various line ministries, enabling users to access updated statuses on these initiatives. With regard to climate actions after the Paris Agreement, Mr. Javadekar said India has practically achieved its pre-2020 climate action targets. He said though India is not responsible for climate change, but it is taking responsible action to mitigate the challenge. Mr. Javadekar also demanded that other countries must commit for the advanced commitments of Kyoto Protocol, which has not been followed by the countries that must be done. Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan has sought the help of journalists in eradicating tuberculosis by 2025. Addressing the students of Indian Institute of Mass Communication digitally, Dr. Vardhan said that the active participation of journalists will help in large-scale awareness generation among the public. Applauding the efforts of journalists during the times of crisis, due to the pandemic for the last 11 months. He said that journalists have worked round the clock from ground zero to provide information to the public. In Jammu and Kashmir, all necessary arrangements have been put in place to conduct the first ever District Development Council DDC elections and the Panchayat by-elections. The elections are being held in 8 phases, while the first phase begins tomorrow. A foolproof mechanism has been put in place by synergized efforts for the elections, which would go a long way in ensuring decentralization of powers to the grassroots level in Jammu and Kashmir. More from our Srinagar correspondent.
The first phase of the 8-phased DDC election is in Jammu and Kashmir is scheduled to take place tomorrow. A total of 43 DDC constituencies in Jammu and Kashmir will go for polls, out of which 25 constituencies are in Kashmir Valley and the rest 18 constituencies are in Jammu Division. 2,644 polling stations have been established in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir to conduct free and fair elections. State Election Commissioner Mr. K.K. Sharma has directed for setting up of special polling stations for Kashmiri migrants at Jammu and Udhampur so that they can exercise their right to franchise. Meanwhile, the State Election Commissioner Mr. K.K. Sharma has said that necessary COVID-19 protocols have been put in place for conducting the elections in a safer environment. Sunil Kohl, AR News, Srinagar.
In an effort to guard against fake news being circulated on various platforms, we bring you our segment on Fact Check and Mythbusters. It is being claimed across certain sections of social and digital media that the central government has notified rules for the Citizenship Amendment Act CAA. The centre has termed this claim as fake and has informed that no such rules exist. It added that no rules under the CAA Act have been notified yet. The Delhi police has appealed to the protesting farmers to maintain peace. After discussion with the farmer leaders, the police has permitted the protesting farmers inside Delhi to hold peaceful protest at Nirankari ground, Buradi in Delhi. Australia beat India by 66 runs in the opening ODI of the 3-match series at the Sydney Cricket Ground this evening. After setting a target of 375 runs, Australia restricted India to 308 for 8 in 50 overs. For India, Hardik Pandya was the highest scorer with 90 of 76 balls. For hosts, Adam Zampa claimed 4 wickets. Earlier, Australia posted an imposing 374 for 6 in stipulated 50 overs after electing to bat first. Aaron Finch was the highest run scorer for Australia with 114 runs of 124 deliveries. Skipper Steve Smith hit a breezy ton of 105 of 66 balls. For India, Mohammad Shami took 3 wickets while Jasprit Bumrah got 1 wicket. The second ODI will be played on November the 29th and the final ODI on December the 2nd in Sydney.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital Delhi will have mist in the morning and temperatures will vary between 10 and 24 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will observe mainly clear sky and the temperature will vary between 21 and 34 degrees Celsius. Chennai will have a generally cloudy sky and the temperature will hover between 19 and 35 degrees. Kolkata is likely to have a partly cloudy sky and the temperature will hover between 18 and 29. Srinagar will have a mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Temperature will hover between -2 degrees Celsius and 12 degrees Celsius. Jammu will have a mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening and the temperature will vary between 9 and 22 degrees Celsius. In Leh, mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening with temperatures varying between -10 and 2 degrees Celsius. Gilgit will have a mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. The temperature will hover between 4 and 12 degrees Celsius. Muzaffarabad will have a mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening with the temperatures between 5 to 17 degrees Celsius. And now before we end, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Ahmedabad, Pune and Hyderabad tomorrow to review COVID-19 vaccine development and manufacturing process. COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 93.65%. Chief Economic Advisor says gross domestic product estimates more encouraging than anticipated in Q2. Agriculture sector registers 3.4% growth. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar launches India Climate Change Knowledge Portal. All arrangements in place for first phase of District Development Council elections in Jammu and Kashmir tomorrow. And in cricket, Australia beat India by 66 runs in opening ODI of 3-match series at Sydney. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.